The title of today's section in your textbook is Stoichiometry Gets Massive. And I find that to be a rather discouraging section title. It may seem at first glance that these problems can be rather long and complicated, but once you understand the overall process behind it, they're really not as bad as you would think they are. Now, the author of your textbook tends to use an illustration where he talks about getting on and off of an interstate, and that may be effective for some people. I have another illustration that I prefer to use, and I'll share that with you in case you find this one helpful. When you were little, you may have heard the story of the Three Billy Goats Gruff, and the three billy goats needed to get across this river to the other side, and that's where the grass was greener, and that's where they wanted to go. And so in order to get from where they were to the land where the grass was greener, they had to cross this bridge. And this troll lived under the bridge, and his favorite delicacy is to eat goats. So initially, the littlest Billy Goat Gruff comes across the bridge. He goes trip, trap, trip, trap, trip, trap, and he goes across the bridge, and the huge awful troll hops out and he goes, "Why do you think you're crossing my bridge?" And so the littlest Billy Goat Gruff he's quaking, he's scared, he's like, "Oh, Mr. Troll, please don't eat me." He goes, my big brother is coming and he's got a whole lot more meat on him and he'll be a much better lunch for you anyway. And so please just let me go. And so the troll goes, "Well, all right, fine, go ahead." And so the littlest Billy Goat Gruff goes trip, trap, and he goes off and he goes and eats the grass on the other side. Well, then the middle Billy Goat Gruff comes across, and he's kind of going trip, trap, and it's a much bigger goat, so he's making a bigger noise. The troll pops out from underneath the bridge, and he goes, "Hey, what do you think you're doing crossing my bridge?" He goes, "I'm just going to eat you for lunch because I don't like you crossing my bridge." And so the middle Billy Goat Gruff goes, "Oh, please, Mr. Troll, don't eat me. My really big brother's coming, and he's much bigger than I am, and he'll make a much better lunch for you, so you don't want to mess with somebody as little as me." And so the troll goes, "Oh, okay, fine. Just go." And so the middle Billy Goat Gruff, having escaped this awful destiny of being eaten by the troll, continues off the bridge, trip, trap, and he goes off to the land of the green grass, and he's very happy. Well, then the biggest Billy Goat Gruff comes along, and he decides that he's going to now come across the bridge. And so he comes across the bridge, trip, trap, because he's a really big goat, comes across the bridge, and the troll pops out and he goes, "What do you think you're doing crossing my bridge?" And so he goes to cross the bridge, and the biggest Billy Goat Gruff wants none of this, and he butts the troll off the bridge, and the troll lands down in the water on his head, and the goat goes on across the bridge, and they're all happily eating grass over where the grass is greener. So it all works out well for all three of them, except for the troll, who now has a concussion. Now, I like to tell that story just because it's very similar to what I have set up here. In a problem, they always give you some sort of number, some sort of quantity to start with. And so I like to call that the land of the given. And then at the end of the story, you want to get into the land of asked for. And in the land of asked for, that's where your answer is going to be. Well, in order to get from the land of given to the land of asked for, you have to cross the mole bridge. And in order to cross the mole bridge, you have to be a mole. You can't get across there, or the big, bad, mean troll pops out from under the bridge and he threatens to eat you. So if you are in forms of grams, you can't go onto the bridge. You've got to convert yourself from grams to moles. Once you get across the bridge, you've now gone from the land of given to the land of asked for, and you're still in the form of moles. And then if you want to, you can convert yourself back into the form of grams. Okay, so only way to get across the bridge and to fool the troll is to be in the form of a mole. And so we're going to work a couple of problems where we are following this whole storyline through. Now, again, when he does these problems in the book, he tends to do it in a number of different steps. I like to do it in one big, long, fell swoop. You can do it whether you prefer to do it in a series of steps or whether you prefer to do it in just one big step with a number of factors, doesn't make any difference to me, whatever is the easiest for you to understand. So on your sheet that goes with today's video, you see that a chemist is running the following reaction. And you've got a reaction where they're putting gallium with hydrochloric acid. Now, the chemist needs 100 grams of gallium chloride and wants to know how many grams of gallium he should start with. So, in this particular problem, in the land of the given, what we've been given is 100 grams of gallium, okay? And just like before, that always goes over 1. Now, in order to get to the land of the asked for, remember that I've got to convert grams to moles. And if I have grams, the only way to get through moles, to get 2 moles, is to use the molar mass that I get from the periodic table. I'm sorry, that should have been GaCl3. So, I need to go from moles of GaCl3 to grams of GaCl3 on the bottom, so that will cancels out. In 1 mole, I have 176.07 grams, okay? So now I've gone from grams of given to moles of given. Now I need to get from moles of given to moles of the asked for. And the way I do that is to use my balanced chemical equation. And in the chemical equation that you have there at the top of the page, you can see that for every 2 moles of gallium chloride on the right, you need 2 moles of gallium on the left. So the moles of gallium chloride has to go on the bottom, and the moles of gallium have to go on the top, because that's what I'm trying to find. And again, from the balanced chemical equation, there's a 2 in front of both of those in the equation. So I've now gone to moles of gallium. That's the moles of my asked for. Sometimes they may just ask for moles and you may not have to do any further conversion, and so you may be finished. In this particular problem, they did ask for grams of gallium, so I now have to go from moles of gallium to grams of gallium. And in every 1 mole of gallium, there are, it looks like 69.72 grams of gallium. Again, that comes from the periodic table. So moles will cancel out, and I'm going to be left with grams of gallium, which is what I asked for, was asked for. So I've got 100 divided by 176.07 times 2 divided by 2. Obviously, those are going to cancel out, times 69.72. And so I will have a final answer of 39.60 grams of gallium. Okay, so I went from grams of my given to moles of my given to moles of my asked for to grams of my asked for. Okay, let's do one more example. So hopefully that this will start to really sink in and make some sense. Okay. In the second example problem, hydrochloric acid can be neutralized by barium hydroxide according to the following reaction, and then you were given a reaction there. A chemist needs to neutralize 540 grams of HCl. How much BaOH2 will he need? Okay, so again, I need to go from the land of the given to the land of the asked for. And so if I start with 540 grams of HCl, and I put that over 1. Okay, I'm in grams of given, I've got to go to moles of given. And so to go to moles of given, I need to go to moles of HCl from grams of HCl. Remember, in order to go from grams to moles, it's always 1 mole, and it's always based on the numbers from the periodic table. So you've got the mass of the hydrogen plus the mass of the chlorine, and together that will give you 36.46 grams of HCl. So this will cancel out. I'm now in moles of the given, so I can now get across the bridge. And so I need to go to moles of asked for. In order to do that, I have to use the chemical equation. So I need to get rid of moles of hydrochloric acid, and I am looking for moles of barium hydroxide. Okay? The balanced chemical equation has a 2 in front of the HCl, and it has a 1 in front of the barium hydroxide. So that's where those numbers come from. Again, this comes from the balanced chemical equation. So moles of hydrochloric acid cancels out. And then now I am at moles of the asked for, and the problem did ask me for grams of the asked for. Sometimes they'll only ask for moles, but in this case they did ask for grams. So I need to go from moles of barium hydroxide to grams of barium hydroxide. And for every 1 mole, the periodic table will give me this mass, which will be 171.35 grams of barium hydroxide. So moles will cancel out, and I will be left with grams of barium hydroxide. Okay, so 540 divided by 36.46 divided by 2 times 171.35, and that will give me 1269 grams of barium hydroxide. Started out with 4 significant figures, and I'm going to end up with 4. Okay, so hopefully that illustration with the 3 Billy Goats Gruff and going from the land of the given to the land of the asked for will help you keep the steps straight. Again, you're going from grams to moles to moles to grams, and so even though it may look complex, there's really about 3 steps involved, and if you can understand the concept behind those steps, then you'll be in really good shape.